human body is almost a perfect creation of nature, but is also a vulnerable and fragile mechanism. But while mechanical parts of machinery can be simply replaced with spare parts, it is not that simple with the human body. Of course, there are technologies of cultivation of some internal organs from cells, but the vast majority of them are at the stage of being tested, which is why they can be quite expensive. Artificial implants are known today as the best to replace human body parts, but they require biocompatible materials. Not only do they have to be accepted by the body, but they also have to perform their functions at least at the same level as the damaged. For example, bones. Scientists have not yet managed to create a light yet strong material to replace them and such that they will not be rejected by the body. Therefore, it is necessary to find a material that at least has properties that are compatible to human bones. Titanium alloys are the closest in terms of durability and other properties, but they do not always get along with our bodies. So there is a risk of rejection after implantation. So there is a need for materials that would not be recognized as an alien object. Special compounds and phosphates have been developed. Among those, the hydroxyapatites have the highest biocompatibility. The cells of the human body perceive them as their own and therefore do not reject them. However, hydroxyapatite is not a strong material. In short, a bone substitute cannot be made out of it, so scientists decided to take a different approach and make a protective layer for titanium implants out of that very material. And when we use such a combination, we discovered that hydroxyapatite does not perform the protective function, even as a coating. So scientists began thinking how to strengthen the hydroxyapatite. For example, what to mix with it so that it retains its biocompatibility. It was ascertained that the problem can be solved with carbon nanotubes. These are unique structures that resemble folded graphene planes. They can reach a length of several centimeters and a diameter of 1 to several dozens of nanometers. When researchers tried to mix the hydroxyapatite powder with powder of carbon nanotubes for the first time, they ran up against an unexpected obstacle. It turned out that a carbon nanotube conglomerate or coalesces with one another and forms lumps. The end result is an uneven distribution of carbon nanotubes across the entire hydroxyapatite coating. And the worst result is that the hydroxyapatite collapsed and nanotubes stuck together. When they reached the lungs, they became attached to their walls and caused the development of tumorous processes. Therefore, most scientists in different countries abandoned this idea. Meanwhile, Ukrainian scientists work on ways to grow nanotubes, and for the first time in the world, they managed to achieve that by arc spraying of graphite cathodes. It is worth mentioning that the Japanese tried to use the method of arc spraying in a vacuum to get carbon nanotubes, but they failed. They even published an article saying that it was impossible to grow carbon nanotubes by application of this method. But the scientists of the Institute of Metal Physics have proven their colleagues wrong. And not only did they grow nanotubes using that method, but they also learned to grow them on the surface of titanium alloy. Then the space between the tubes is filled with hydroxyapatite and the biocompatible surface is ready. As such, scientists have already proven how this can be achieved. For example, they did so using laser melting technology. They discovered that when the laser beam is properly adjusted to smelt hydroxyapatite, which is fusible, the carbon nanotubes are not affected by this process at all. Thus, the liquid hydroxyapatite fills the space between the carbon nanotubes and creates a composite coating. Externally, it resembles the structure of felt or a tangled zinc fission line. And even if the hydroxyapatite eroded, the nanotubes would not reach the blood. So titanium prostheses have greater potential in terms of reliability and compatibility with the human body. We insert the titanium prostheses in the vacuum chamber, after which an intermediate layer is applied. Then we grow carbon nanotubes, and after that, we take it out to the chamber and fill it with molten hydroxyapatite with the help of a laser. Finally, we get an even coverage across the surface of the titanium prostheses. Today, Ukrainian scientists are negotiating with their Polish colleagues who are willing to revive the idea of strengthening prostheses with carbon nanotubes. But that method is interesting not only for this particular case, since the space between the tubes can be filled by any material, and then such a composition can acquire a variety of properties. There is a problem of friction. When such a nanorobot is running, its individual parts rub against each other, and because they are small and consume very little power, it is necessary to reduce such friction, and the parts have to be as durable as possible. Ukrainian scientists see a vast field of application for their technology, and they are the pioneers as they could see great potential in a seemingly useless idea. Although metal is a foreign material for the human body, modern medicine uses it quite frequently. After all, in addition to durability, it has many other interesting properties. For example, many metals and alloys have a shape memory. The point is that a metal sample made under certain conditions changes its shape, stretches or compresses when the temperature changes. When the temperature returns to the previous level, the metal returns to its previous shape. At the time, this phenomenon was perceived as an exceptional case, but then when the physics of metals has studied more profoundly, it turned out that this effect is a natural manifestation of the so-called Martinistic transformation. That is the orderly movement of atoms or molecules in the crystal lattice under the influence of external factors. When it was well studied, it began being actively applied and used in various industries. For instance, when the water is boiling, the kettle switches off independently thanks to a part that has shape memory. This capacity of metals is very useful for medicine. It is most commonly used in cardiovascular and neurosurgery. Modern stents are made of exactly such materials. Stent is a cylindrical structure. It is placed in organ cavities to expand and narrowed area or restore the shape of the damaged organ. That is one of the most effective surgical treatments of atherosclerosis and strokes. A folded stent moves through the vessels, and when in the right place, it expands. And then the blood can circulate freely without the formation of blood clots. Ukrainian surgeons mostly use imported stents. However, scientists of the Institute of Metal Physics have developed a technology that can be used for the production of domestic stents. In this case, we know how to manage the phase transformations occurring in these materials, and that is very important. When we know this, we're able to adjust to properties of the material, not only its functional properties, such as repeated deformation and shaping, but also the properties aimed at the biocompatibility of these materials. First of all, we must know what material is suitable for product manufacture, how to melt it, and how to shape the appropriate design. The whole process is very high-tech, but it gives an added value because the metal itself makes up a fraction of the prime cost of such a device. Nevertheless, the demand for stents in Ukraine is quite high, and the technology offered by Ukrainian scientists allows for price competition. That is a whole set of operations. Thus, from $5–10 of the material cost, it is possible to gain an added value of up to $5,000 when you consider the whole set of tools for the delivery of a stent through the femoral artery to a particular human arterial system. The use of metals with shape memory is not limited to stenting. For example, brackets for connecting bones after injuries and fractures are also produced from them. There were cases when people received serious facial injuries after a terrible accident, so a person's face can be restored with the help of the clips that connect various fragments even after such injuries. The knowledge and skills that scientists gain during their research allow for developing any alloy with a variety of properties, and these properties have to be determined by the area of application. We're able to compete with those material experts who work in the biomedical market of Western countries and the near abroad. We're sure of that. In addition, we're very interested in close cooperation with doctors to show them our materials for them to try out. And when, for example, a surgeon holds such a monocrystal in his hands, he can feel at what stage of the surgery he might need it.
Почувствует, где он, в каком месте операции ему это сможет помочь.
Modern science reached its peak when even a piece of metal can be used for making a substitute for human organs. For doctors, that means new possibilities for patient treatment. For patients, that is a new hope. For scientists, that is a new scope of research. And for entrepreneurs, those are new ideas for successful businesses.